Present with all board members. This meeting has been duly called, and the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 559. Mr. Hughes, would you please lead us in prayer?
Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for living in a country and a state where we have we are allowed to assemble here and make decisions concerning our kids and their education and their future, which in turn is the future of our state and our country. We just thank you so much for each and every person that is willing to stand up for you and what is right, and we just ask that you would just go with them, guide them, and protect them in their job and in their decisions that they make, and that each and everything that we decide here would be pleasing in your sight. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have anybody sign up for the public forum? Now we're going to have a moment of silence for the passing of Ashley McCullough's sister. Now we'll go into routine district operations. Presentation of middle school students.
If you guys wouldn't mind, if you're middle school, you'll go first. If y'all would just hang tight while the high school goes, and then after high school, everybody can go home. But we've started this the last 2 months. We did elementary last time, and just trying to highlight our kids and show them off. And so I leave it up to the campus and Ms. Jasper, if you want to kind of come up and tell us what you have in store for us tonight. She looks like she is still planning it.
So we created a student, like a principal's leadership team, and the way that we did that is we looked at students all year, kind of watched them, and then we got together with teachers and collaborated so it's based on teachers' recommendation and just what we've seen and observed. Students that just went above and beyond. They had the TOR characteristics. They helped others. They did stuff without being asked. Something simple as helping pick up trash in the cafeteria, pick up trash in Tornado Alley, just doing things that weren't asked of them, helping teachers carry stuff like that. We created the leadership team because I believe that it's my responsibility as a leader to create an environment that promotes empowering students. And together, having that group, it serves two purposes. It helps students succeed academically, and it also helps improve our campus culture. And so it's been proven that principals that empower their students as leaders, they increase the leadership capacity, and often they see a positive impact both in academics and, like I said, the campus culture, because empowered students, they'll empower other students. And so it's like a domino effect. And that's just the goal that we have for our campus, is promoting them to be empowered. And so this team is going to be our first team, but they're also going to learn skills, and I want to point that out real quick because that's important. They're going to learn that they have a choice on how to share their knowledge. So they, how they share it, it's going to be up to them. But they're also going to learn ways to use their voice on our campus in a positive way. And they're going to learn skills that help them make responsible decisions, and that's a lifelong thing. They're going to learn how to grow in their confidence, their communication skills. And it's also going to strengthen their character, their confidence within themselves, and those that are around them. And it's, like I said, it's just going to kind of spread across.
It's culture. It's going to spread that culture.
And so I believe that all students have the ability to be a leader. All they need is one person that's going to believe in them. And it doesn't have to be themselves that believe in them. It just has to be somebody. And so this team, it's going to help grow and develop other leaders. As we select leaders to put in the group, they're going to help grow and develop them. And so they had a first task. We had our 5th grade tour on May 11th, and it was a real big hit because they actually toured them around the building and did a lot of interesting things in our little paper, so you can read that. But tonight, I would like to introduce to you our first principal's leadership team at La Mesa. We have Fernanda Torres. She's going to be a 7th grader.
She's over there. Can we clap for him? Because this is a huge deal. Yeah, they're staying over there, Fernanda.
You go by Guevara, right? Guevara? Torres. It's Torres Guevara. Okay. And then we have Carla Silva. She's going into 8th grade. Nathan Ortega, who will also be an 8th grader. Ethan Toscano, who's going to be an 8th grader. Nathaniel Galindo, a 7th grader. Danny Hernandez, 7th grade. Brenda Hernandez, 8th grade. And Lisa Cuellar, who will also be. And so together, we're going to work together and we're going to plan a lot of school-wide events, such as future school tours. They're going to welcome our new students that come in. And they're also going to help me plan family engagement nights so that we can just make La Mesa Bible School even better than what it is.
I love it.
Good job. Thank you.
Hold on. Can we get a picture with him real quick, please? Can we get a picture with him real quick? Y'all come over here. This is huge. First ever student leadership team. Y'all can just stand up over there.
Okay, that's good. We'll just
Leadership team. Hernandez had to get in the middle. Tallest one there. Big smiles, everybody. Mary Elizabeth, are you behind me?
I am now. You can go in there?
Nope, I was getting a fist off.
Come on.
Okay, I'll go.
thank you.
Great job, guys.
And then I have one more shout out. One more, because it's well deserved. Okay? So we had a student who went to the ESL conference in Lubbock, and that's been a real passion of mine this year is to really push those kids to use their voice, speak up, and just empower them. So we had a student, a 7th grade student. He went and they had a writing event. And he wrote a poem, and that poem is going to be published. So he couldn't come tonight, but that's a really, really big deal for.
That's awesome.
So, Ladisao Hernandez Murillo, and I gave you a copy of it.
Did you? Can we give one to Ms. Mary Elizabeth? I think we need his name in the paper. That's a big deal right there. Awesome.
Well, Ms. Jasper, thank you so much for everything that you brought to this school. You've come in, and you can just see the love you have for these kids and the community and everything that you're implementing for this school. I know we've had plenty of conversations, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for everything that you've done.
And then I have some of my awesome team.
Thank you.
Let me see
Everything
Can I
you'll
talk
do,
a little bit more?
Hey, you're the one up there.
I have some shout outs that I feel like they need. I want y'all to know I feel really blessed to be here. I mean, I think God opens doors for reasons, and this door was clearly open for me. And thank y'all for the love and support that each and every one of you have poured upon me. It's meant a lot. And I kind of said our parent enrollment, but I want to give a shout out because our STAR testing, that's the most stressful time of year for everybody in education, everybody. And Annalise, she developed a system that it was to the minute, y'all, of what was to be done. She had papers that said, at this time, this is what you're going to do and how to do it. So there was no room for error. And so our STAR test, it was almost administered perfectly. I mean, we're humans. There's going to be minor glitches, but to say It was almost perfect as an understatement because it really was. So I want to thank her for that. And then we have a SEL coordinator, Miss Isabel Gonzalez, and she's been a tremendous asset to our campus. So that was the best idea of ever implementing that component into our district, because she doesn't just help our students, she helps our adults. And anything that's going on in the community, it gives us an opportunity as a campus to go out and extend that love to people in need. And her heart is just beautiful, and it's been such a joy to work with her. And then I also want to shout out Miss Luna because she won Secretary of the Year, and I want to say that it was much deserved, and she's like the backbone of our campus. And then I want to thank you for sharing Miss Telchek for us, because she printed all of our awards. And let me tell you, that did not go without a glitch, because there were a lot of glitches. But in our 8th grade banquet, it was a huge turnout. I think we have double what we had the year before, from my understanding. And it wouldn't have been possible without your support, PTO support, so thank you, Melissa. And all of our staff just coming together and pulling up the bootstraps and just taking care of it, because there wasn't any conflict. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything to be any smoother. It was just absolutely beautiful and perfect. And then I need to give another shout out, Ms. Crutcher. She broke a record for us this year. When we did our benchmark testing, her scores were above regional scores, and that's a big deal. Social studies is one of the hardest tests, and last year it proved to be the hardest test. And so for her to go above that, and then just she had planned a study night. I don't remember what she called it, but she had planned for about 15 kids to show up. And it was after school, about 4:45 they came. But she had 35 kids show up, and I was blown away to see how excited they were to be there, because they weren't forced to be there. They were just invited. And they came, and they were really excited to practice their skills. And they had all these cool little hand signals. We called them gang signs. But it was cool because that's what's given her success, like that kind of teaching. And our kids really embraced it. And it was nice to see them show up and participate in something that they didn't really have to do. And all of our teachers have worked so hard this year, and our kids worked hard, and it's just been a great year at the middle school. So thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank y'all,
Jasper.
ladies. Thank y'all for everything.
Coach McCall, if you'll come on up. Yes, ma'am, Coach McCall. High school wise, I wanted to recognize the plethora of people, and the band is we have some people that are going to perform for y'all here in a few minutes, because they've got a performance later this week and they needed to get a couple practices in, and I told them, well, there's no better place than here. But I also wanted to recognize a group of ladies that just really represented Lamesa High School, Lamesa, Texas, excellently all the way to the regional track meet. And Coach McCall and I go way back, and she goes way back further than me. But I just think the world of her and what she does with the track program. She works them hard, and that's why sometimes kids don't end up being able to finish with her, because she's going to push you. But this year, they all stuck around. They all worked their tails off, and it was just a really excellent year. So please continue.
I have 4 young ladies that I want to recognize that have come in. I have Madison Darrington, who's a senior.
Where's Madison Darrington? Come up here, Madison Darrington.
Madison's been with me 4 years, and I'm going to miss her a tremendous amount, but, she's going on to bigger and better things. St. Angela, I believe? Yeah. And then Reagan, her sister, Reagan Darrington. Regional qualifier in 4 events. And then Fasha Edwards. Regional qualifier in 4 events. And then Audrey Rivera.
I see you, Savannah.
Come on, Savannah. Okay, Audrey Rivera was a member of our 4x100 relay team, and then Savannah was an area qualifier in the 400 and in the 4x400 relay. All 5 of these young ladies are outstanding people
Agreed.
and have represented us to the best of their ability all year and have worked so hard. And as they've already heard me say, our job's not finished. Okay? We'll be back.
I would like
Good job, ladies.
to say this too, because am I wrong that all 5 of y'all were on our playoff lady basketball team as well? Correct? And I will also tell you that all 5 of them are really good students.
Yes.
I mean, and so truly represent what is great about Lamesa. So thank y'all for being here.
Thank you.
I've coached almost all of these girls. Well, every single one of these girls when they were little. Good job, babe.
Yeah, y'all gonna get mad at me with these pictures. I think we should get a picture with these two. Those in the paper, it's greatness. Savannah, get over there. We're gonna take a picture with y'all. Y'all go over there, ladies. Y'all might have to kneel down. Y'all got a little height about you.
Yeah, they're all tall.
I can't do that. It's like a wall squat. Oh, so abnormal.
Wait, I got your number.
Thank you. Is Miss Carry On out there? Oh, come on. All right, Miss Carry On, you're on. Y'all know how much I love Miss Carry On in the band. I'm going to let her introduce what we're doing here. Helen Vargas, a recent salutatorian. Yeah, right there.
Bluetooth connected.
I don't know who the is.
First, you got to tell us
Hi,
about
so
it. There you go. You got to tell us what's going on.
All right, we're just setting up. First person is Helen Vargas. She's a senior salutatorian, our head drum major from this past school year. We have 5 kids that are going to state solo and ensemble. That's this Monday on Memorial Day. So we're actually leaving Sunday morning at 5 in the morning. Our boosters like to treat the kids every year to Slitterbahn. So we're going to go spend our day Sunday all day at the Slitterbahn Park. Hopefully it's not raining, so we'll see how it goes there. Helen had played a Class 1 solo back in February. They're required to memorize it, and it's a certain level of music in order for her to advance to state. She has that right there because it's been a few months, and she gets a little nervous with people staring at her. And that's okay. We are purposely doing this because she has to do it Monday for the judges, and so she's going to be nervous. So yesterday we played at the Rotary Club luncheon, and then today we played for their family at 3 o'clock, and this is their 3rd performance in the past 2 days, so they can get the jitters out, because it's different in front of a judge. This, I think, makes them more nervous. I don't know. But we'll start with her solo. It does have a piano accompaniment, so...
I'm going to play open G.
Huh?
I'm going to play an open G real quick.
Okay. Okay. here. So this group consists of 2 seniors. We have Ollie and Brendan. They just graduated. Their job's not finished yet. And then we have 2 sophomores, now juniors next year. Jamie Gonzalez and Anastasia Contreras, who is one of our drum majors for next school year. Jamie is one of our section leaders for our trombone section next year. So they actually have 3 movements. They're just going to play 2 movements today. After the first one that they play, don't clap. It's actually incorrect concert etiquette because it's an actual movement, so we don't clap after that. We wait till they're officially finished. So not everybody knows that unless you are in the music world. Next group playing their movement. Theirs doesn't have to be memorized, but they have to play a certain level in order to qualify to go to state. Okay. And then I don't have no piano for this one, so whenever y'all are ready.
I do a croquet.
I'll let y'all on the scoot around over. Y'all's slides looked a little close. This isn't the trombone suicide videos from YouTube. Has anybody seen that? I'm sure you have. Okay.
Really good, guys. And entertaining. Thank you, Miss Kennedy. That was awesome. Good luck on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Have fun.
No rain.
No rain.
If you want to leave, now's your opportunity. Thank y'all for coming, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank y'all, guys. I know that takes a little time, but I just love,
It's all right.
I love it.
It's worth
Getting to show our kids, and y'all get to meet our kids and take pictures with them.
and they
Can't
get
put-
to know who we are.
Can't
'cause
put a
sometimes
price
they
on
don't
it, I
even-
don't think.
Yeah. I guess we'll go to the consent agenda item.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we'll have the financial report from Mr. Muhammad.
I can't believe that everyone was straight. Okay, the first page item is the general fund by function board report dated 4/23. There's really not a lot that we haven't seen. We saw kind of the same thing last month. The only area to make note of is that our student transportation is down. They're over budget by $107,000. It's about midway through there. And I did a little research on that, and most of that is a combination of three things: repairs and maintenance on the buses, and of course inflation. Also our fuel cost going up quite a bit.
Well, guys, it's also because everybody we've had do anything this year has advanced. I mean, we have taken more trips because every sport, every band, BPA, everything has been advancing. So that's a good thing. That's another reason it's a little higher up
I had
there.
that on my list.
Sorry.
Stop getting
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I got slow your roll, Richie.
Yeah, totally. So anyway, we're one of the things that I looked at, just tinkering with the numbers, is I looked at concerned about how we're going to finish the year out. So I took a look at the numbers, and I took the encumbered. I did a little review of the encumbered to see if there was anything in there, because a lot of times there's money set aside encumbered, but it's not used. So I'm hoping we're going to get some benefit from that. But I also, under the encumbered, I assumed in my math that it was going to be used. And I combined that with the unencumbered ending balance. And the math on that was about $6.9 million. And then I took and I divided that by 4, because that's the number of months that we have left, to see what the average was. If we spend that money, all of that money, that would be $1.7 million a month. And I thought, well, that's average. In fact, it's a little above average to have that much left, based on what we've done. Overall, we've had a spending for the first 8 months of about $2 million a month. The last month and this month, we've averaged $1.6 million a month. If we hold to that number, we'll actually come out a little bit ahead at the end of the year. We have to hold to that number to do that, but there's a possibility, based on the last 2 months' spending and what we have left in unencumbered and encumbered, that we could be a step ahead. We would have a little money that would offset our loss of revenue. To me, that's positive, and that's good news, and we hope for that. I hate answering the question and predict, but that's my best prediction right there from a math side, just from the math side of it.
And if you're going to have months where you spend less money, these are the months that it happens, because you're not on all the campuses. There's not as much going on, and it's more concentrated.
So we could hold to those numbers pretty easy. And that's what I have for the page. Are there any questions specific to what's on here?
No, sir.
On that 107,000
Yes.
that we're over in there, I know this is not a pleasant topic, but as far as buses and stuff like that, is there any way that you and what's the new?
Well, I would like to introduce her. Ms. Bullard, would you please stand up?
I'm sorry.
I wasn't going to do this yet, but it looks like you're here at the right time. Guys, this is Randy Bullard, our brand new transportation director. Kind of tell them about yourself a little bit real quick, Randy.
So I've been in transportation. This is going to be my 24th year. And I've been with a contractor for 18 years, and I was at Legoland for 5. And so I've been here for a month. And probably not a good time, Mr. McBee, to say, here's the new
Well,
transportation director.
we're okay with that. This is history.
Yeah,
for you.
so I live in Brownfield, and I've been driving back and forth, but I've commuted the whole time I've been in transportation, actually. And
That makes sense, by the way, in transportation.
yeah, that's true. I already know it, don't I? And I love it here. It's been amazing. Everybody's been so nice and so professional and so welcoming, and I'm really just kind of learning everything. And I know a lot of what to do already. So I knew all the programs and the payroll and the Skyward and all of that already. So I was good with that. It's just learning the area. It's pretty much all I need, and the students. So, and I'm just really having fun learning all of that. Your kids are great. I mean, the kids are amazing so far. And we started summer school Tuesday, so we're rolling good with that. And pretty much that's me in a nutshell.
One of my favorite things, Randy is who we've always sent our people to be trained.
Yes.
Now we have an in-house trainer.
Yes. That's
So
great.
if we need to get more people trained, some assistant coaches trained, we got everything we need right here. That's
Will
a
we be
huge
training
plus.
Others that come?
Yes, I'm a certified TDA instructor, which is through the region. And then with all of the new federal mandates, which is the entry-level driver trainer, which they have to have 20 hours of theory and 20 hours of behind the wheel. And it all has to be sent into DPS before they can even drive a bus. I'm certified in all of that. So if we have a new driver or a coach or anybody that needs to be trained within our district, I'm certified to do all of that in-house. So we won't have to send them out.
Which is awesome.
That's
I've never had that in any district
And
I've ever
so
been in.
it's quite a complicated process. And then actually I went to a meeting this week with the West Texas Association of People Transportation. And I've always been a part of the association, which is the Texas Association, but I was a part of, I went to Canyon, which was really far. So this is the West Texas Association. And so I'm going to start being a part of that, which sends you all of the updates and the new, programs out there, and you get together with directors in the area. So it was Odessa, Midland, Big Springs, Seminole, Andrews, and then, you're a part of a big community, so any new updates, they bring it to you. You give them ideas. They have programs. We have programs, and you're just able to share. So we'll do that once a month. And so I was really excited about that. So, yeah.
So it's nice to meet you. Now you get to answer Mr. Telchik's question. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I hadn't met you.
When we had the luncheon the other day, I got to meet everybody that was down on this end, but I didn't get to meet everybody down on this end. So I did get to meet a couple of you guys, but not everybody. So, yeah, it's nice to meet everybody, and I hope I get to know you guys a little bit better. And, anytime that y'all need anything, you can call me anytime and ask any questions.
Pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited.
I'm going to put you on the spot then.
Okay.
I would like, and I think the board would like, if y'all could kind of come up with, since we're starting fresh here, and if y'all could kind of come up with some ideas and ways, the 107,000, I understand that. We got rising fuel costs and just the repairs and the maintenance to the buses.
Right.
I really think that we're in a position where the rotation is, it just hadn't, that ball's been dropped the past few years. And we're, in my opinion, as far as a fleet standpoint, we're in bad shape.
Yes.
I don't know what else to say. We need to, and it's tough times, and I know this is not the discussion that anybody wants to have, because it's, when you start talking, a couple $100,000 for a bus, that's a lot of money. But I feel like that, whenever we're having those kind of repairs and those kind of maintenance, then maybe there's some things that we can do differently, procedurally wise, but also, I would like for y'all, or Mr. Ritchie, to maybe give us an idea of a rotation plan and what you would like, from a standpoint, do we need to do a bus a year for however long, or?
I usually like to see a replacement at 15 years. And I did get Mr. Ritchie some prices, but those were for activities. And, like the semis and things like that, they're over 330,000. So
I just think we need to start figuring out a plan.
Yes.
Because there hasn't been one. Those buses were bought when I was second year I was a head football coach. That was a long time ago. And then we talked about it already.
We did.
It's going to be, we may have to, in the short term, suffer a little bit in some other places, but in the long term, I think it'll pay off and
Well, the
even
safety
out.
is what's more
it
important.
is the safety of the students, and I sent Mr. Ritchie, and it's a work in progress. Was a spreadsheet the other day of, I think that you guys had a replacement schedule of 20 on some and 15 on others, and sent him kind of a replacement and how long they've been in service. So we are kind of working on that.
We'll get a plan together.
Unless it's something you just go down like a car and buy.
No, especially in this day and age, you're a year away. And
They're
so-
year build.
So and that's why I already had her. I think the day you got here, I told you got a bus. You got to get towed from Dallas,
Yes.
and I would like you to price. And I would like you to immediately price some new buses.
Here you go, get your bus back from Dallas. I said, yes, sir, I'm on that. So we got it back, and then they did reach out and say that they're going to let me know about whether we are going to total that one or.
Which, and I've told her once we learn that, let's wait because it might be that may be God's sign of, hey, let's get rid of that one, auction off what's left of it, and put it down on the new one.
And do we have any of them that are coming up for rotation already?
Yes, sir.
I think they're passed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they're
yeah.
That explains a lot of the maintenance costs.
It does.
I think the plan was put in place, Ernest, and they just never followed the
Well,
plan.
I know the last school that we went to, I know me and Liz looked at buses. I told her we really need to look at buses. And
We do.
It just wasn't done. Yes, sir.
But the good thing is, too, we're coming up on an auction, so maybe we can auction some of those and have some of that cost put back into the budget for replacement, too. So, because we do have a couple and some vehicles that need to be auctioned, I know for
10%
sure.
of that 107,000 is two tow bills.
100%. Like when I was looking through the check registry, I was adding that up. Like, I mean, we're basically paying for a new bus throughout the year,
Correct.
with all the repairs.
Yeah, if you look at the offset of the cost that we're spending on repair and maintenance and tow bills, and if you even have to look at labor when you're sending people to go pick them back up and things like that, you are.
Not to mention, like Ms. Gonzalez said, and y'all will laugh, but like when we took the seniors to Fiesta, Texas, we were like, y'all think we're going to get there? And we did, and we had some AC problems on the way home, but our kids shouldn't have to think, hey, y'all think we'll make it?
And that's why, when I've been talking to the drivers, they're like, okay, send this one because I think it will make it. And I'm like, we don't want you to make that statement. We want to know for sure we're going to make it.
Well, 2 miles a gallon, though,
Yeah.
makes a huge difference.
Well, and that's true too when you're looking at
And
fuel
they're,
consumption.
huge. You're talking $4.
So we've been working on it, and I've already been sending. Mr.
We'll get a
Rich's
plan
some
together and
papers.
present it to y'all ASAP.
Thank
you.
you.
It's nice to meet you
guys.
Nice to
It's really
meet you.
nice.
This is a good night for you to be here.
I know, right? So, but I was hopefully ready to answer everything. But if y'all need anything, or if you have any questions for me, I have my cell phone on all the time, and I should have brought some cards, but Mr. Ritchie has my cell phone number. So
Don't tell
ask me
April that.
anything.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Well, like I said, anything you need to ask me, I'm always available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowler.
Ron,
No,
you always
nice.
say that.
All right, so the next page is the revenue year-to-date board report, date for April 31st, 30th. This just presents us with where we are and how we compare to the budget, of course. I think I made a note on this one that 27% of our funds come from local taxes, and 73% of our funds come from federal funds. So we rely on the federal money a lot, and that's going to grow because of our reduction in property values. So we're going to lose through property collections $1.2 million or $1.3 million, but we're going to pick it up on from the state aid.
And again, that's all based on the current stuff.
Yes.
All
yes.
that could change.
Yes. Next page is the monthly capital outlay. You can see we gave Lee Lewis some money. I think that's about it. I think we're done with that. And then they had some athletic equipment to fill the athletic room. I think all that's been taken care of and approved in previous information. It's just we just got them paid. The next board is the capital project, is the monthly capital outlay for April, and it's just a different way of looking at the total amount of capital project funds. The next page starts the monthly check register. And I reviewed that and really just highlighted some areas like Mr. Ritchie did in terms of the cost of repair and maintenance on the buses. And I really didn't tick anything off other than some of those items. There was nothing that just really jumped out at me that needed any attention. I did note that on page 4, down the food service management company fee of $85,000 got my attention. But I went and looked at their last statement they sent for profit for the school district, and it was $207,218. That's a lot of money. It is unusual, very unusual for a school district to make money on its fund, on their food service, and offer good quality food. And you can attest, if you had dinner tonight, that they do a really good job. I just want to tout that about food service because it is unusual in a school district for the food to be good and you make a profit. A lot of the schools in this area are not making money on their school program. They're being supplemented by their 199 funds, and we're not. In fact, we'll be able to use some of these funds because we can't hold on to it. So we're going to be using some of those funds to improve the look of it. As soon as I get a plan from Joyce, I'll sit down with Mr. Ritchie and we'll go over that plan and see what he thinks, if it's something that we want to do. But we'll have a plan for what we want to do with that money to improve the services or the look of the cafeterias. And really, if y'all have questions, ask them now because there's nothing else in here that's big. I looked at the numbers first, and then I followed the line items, and I didn't notice anything that was unusual or big.
April and May is a busy time. That's what, as I was going through each one, there's just a lot of little things that typically don't pop up unless it's the end of the school year.
A lot of people are getting ready for summer, for their summer training and continuing education. So that's just part of it. Anyway.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion we approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next we'll have TASB presenter, Mr. Nelson.
Madam President, board members, Mr. Ritchie, colleagues, it's a pleasure tonight to be here to share with you what we've been working on with TASB. Tonight I'll introduce Ms. Nicole G. Guzman. She is our representative from TASB that's been working with us for the last 6 months to kind of really take a close look at our current compensation plan as opposed to what we want to do next year for 22-23. Just so you have an idea before she presents what our goals are, the first thing we want to always do is be competitive in the market. We don't want to lose teachers to school districts that surround us because that's going to send you on a negative path. We also want to create equity within our pay grades, meaning you don't want someone in the pay grade to be making considerably less than someone else with similar experience. And then the other thing we want to do, because we know that this payroll takes up such a large part of your budget, we want to be fiscally conservative and mindful of every dollar we spend on payroll. So we have to make sure we're watching that we're not filling excessive FTEs, that we have people where we need them to accomplish our goal. So every few years, we typically like to do a study with TASB, a full study, and that's what we're doing this year. In the years after a full study, you don't have to do a full study every year. You can kind of do a follow-up study, and we can talk about that next year. But the reason we're doing this and the reason we're starting tonight with you is we want you to have confidence in us that our motives are right. We want to do it for the right reasons. So we have the best staff available. We're paying them fairly so they're not running here and there trying to chase a dollar. We want to make sure that we're competitive there. TASB will help us present full transparency to you. There's nothing that we will talk about that you can't know, that you won't know. We're going to share everything with you, from salary, stipends, and all of that. Ultimately, we'll bring you a compensation plan that will include all teacher salaries, all pay for others, as well as the raises that we're recommending, stipends, and everything will be in a compensation plan. And when you approve that, that's what we would put into place. And one thing I believe in is if you didn't approve it, we don't do it. If you approve the stipend of this amount, that's the amount we use. If our budget says we're going to have 7 of these particular stipends, we're only going to use 7 or less. And so that's the commitment we make to you guys, so that you know that we're doing the work of the district.
And Dr. Nelson, can I interrupt real
Absolutely.
quick? And that is probably, if I could say, since March 8th and since we got in this deal, if I could say there's one significant change. I feel like there's been a lot, but we have completely changed the way that we handle employees with their salaries. It is, he mentioned the word equity earlier. I'm not going to lie, I don't feel like there's ever been a rhyme or reason to what people make. And we have gone off the old compensation plan, and then TASB will introduce the new one, and we are fair. And to me, that's what's important, to be fair. We want people to want to be here, but at the end of it, I don't know that we have looked anybody in the eye and not thought we are treating you fairly. It's your choice now what you do. He said it right on the plan and the stipends. You're looking at an administration that is going to handle that right, because I've been in every role imaginable and I know it's possible. And so I just want to put you at ease like he has. It's a totally different ballgame now when we employ people. They know what they're making. That's been another thing in Lamesa. Sometimes you felt bad if you came and asked what you made. We're working on a plan to print salary sheets for every single employee so we can hand it to them at the start of the year and let them know this is exactly what you are taking home this year. So just...
Amen to that. It was something we've needed for a long
Yes.
time. Something we've needed.
And the only thing I'll add is that it's going to take us some time to address outliers. You have some people that are outside or way above where they potentially should have been based on their experience in the pay grade, and it's going to take us some time to close that. One thing, I've been in several different districts, you don't want to do is take money back from someone that they've been earning. And so you could go in and do some of those things, but it's not good for the PR of the district. And so we do that over time. And that's why we work with TAS, because they help us with a plan that sometimes gets us to our goal, not in a year, maybe not even in 2 years, but in 3 or 4 years, we can say, okay, we've arrived. So without any further ado, if you don't have any questions for me, I'd like Ms. G Guzman to take over. Is that good?
That's
That's
good.
good.
All right, then. There you go.
So I know I'm here to talk about compensation and money, but I'm going to go off script for a little bit, just a moment. When we get to go out in the spring, we present to many board meetings where they are doing student recognitions, and they're always so warm to watch those and see the parents be excited and the students be excited. But this evening, I got a little weepy a couple of times, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is great. So even though I'm going to talk about pay, I am going to say that there are districts in the state who wish they could throw money at a problem and get the culture that you all have here. So money problems aside, your culture is great. This was awesome this evening to be here to watch that. So
Thank you.
thank you for allowing me to be here to present tonight. Dr. Nelson stole a few of my talking points. So, might have to repeat that because that's the spiel I memorized on my almost 6-hour drive here.
I've been doing this about 8 years, 9 years with TASB, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I did practice for 5.5 hours.
Shucks.
Anyway, so as he said, we do go through this process to make sure that you all are internally fair and externally competitive with your peers and also with districts across the state. Okay. First, if I can figure out.
Click the
slide
top.
up.
Click the top.
Oh,
there you go.
I thought you said slide. Okay.
Well, if you needed to, you won't need to.
Okay. All right. So first, we'll look at the process, and as Dr. Nelson mentioned, we have worked over the past several months to gather data from you all, and I do want to thank Dr. Nelson. He's been very helpful in this process. It's been a good. It's been a fun project to work on with Dr. Nelson, Mr. Ritchie. Anywho, so part of the pay system objectives is to help you all to be able to recruit employees. So making sure that those starting salaries are competitive for your new hires and also new hires with experience, okay? We want you to be able to retain your employees by giving an appropriate market competitive general pay increase and making sure those employees are moving through the pay plan as they should, through those pay ranges. We want to make sure that you are paying the fair amount, that you're not over or underpaying, that your employees are being compensated fairly, and that you are being good stewards of the public money. And then finally, to control cost. We do realize that it's difficult to come up with a compensation plan that is tied to budget constraints. I'm going to click. I'm going to get it. Don't worry.
Okay, we might have to push a down arrow possibly. Or hit enter. There we go. Hit
Okay.
enter.
I'll hit enter. That's perfect.
I'll take it.
Okay. There we go.
Might have to, oh, did it skip?
No, this is where
That's
we
where you
want to be.
Okay, good.
So this, what you're seeing now are the peer districts that we compared you to, and we do realize that not all districts are the same, so we're choosing a market that is close to you all, and then for some positions we will look at statewide, and that's for your directors and above. We look at statewide districts that are similar in size. Okay. We also will look at, so in addition, we look at data from the private sector for those jobs that compete outside of education. For that, we are using Lubbock and Midland area market sources. We contract with Economic Research Institute and comp analysts in order to get that information so that you're getting a well-rounded look at what's going on around you. Okay. So for your teacher demographics, so currently, and I've lost that slide, so sorry.
Real quick, how come?
Sure.
I guess I was looking at since we're here on this page about comparing two other districts.
The market?
Do we supply what districts we want compared to, or do y'all?
No, we choose them. You do have a say in them, like, well, actually.
It wasn't us. Yeah.
It wasn't them.
Like
Sorry about that.
My question is, I would think of Brownfield, Post, Seminole, Snyder, Deep Springs on there. I would think those would be more. I mean, I know it's a big range from 1A to 6A, but just in our area, really Brownfield and Post and Snyder.
So if we do this again, as Dr. Nelson mentioned, we do a big pay review, and then if you choose to, we will do maintenance reviews in those subsequent years. So we can absolutely change those. That this was, I put together a list, and then it's tweaked by the district. Usually there might be just one or two that are changed, but if you want changes in the future, we're happy to do that. But you're right, neither one of you were a part of that. Okay, so we'll look at your teacher demographics now. And so your average teacher experience is 12 years, and that's on par with the state average. You have 61% or 65 teachers that have less than 16 years of experience, and 38% or 40 teachers having less than 6 years of experience. And then conversely to that, you have 11% that have 25 or more years of experience. For your new hires, you only had 7 new hires this year. And as you'll see, you were able to recruit 4 in that 11 to 15 year group. So that's really good. You're not just pulling in people without any experience. You're able to pull in those that have additional experience. So this shows your current salary in orange and the pure market group in blue, and that's their current rates. So you'll see that Lamesa is ahead of the market for 0 and 5 years, and then from 10 years through 20, you fall below the market. This chart will show that in a little different way. You'll see the actual dollar numbers there at the bottom. So second from the bottom, you'll see the percentages that are different from market, and then that bottom line shows you the dollar value. So even though at year 10 you are below market, you're really just equal to market, it's $110. Year 15, you're 1% below market, it's $790. Year 20, you are 2% below, and that's where you are the furthest from market, and that's $1,030. And then your average salary is 2% below market at $1,166. Here we'll see your stipends. Currently, you're not offering a master's degree stipend or a bilingual ed stipend. Your secondary math and science are drastically above what those market rates are. And then your special education self-contained stipend is above market. Next, we'll look at your administrators. And this top group, the central administration, that is the group that we compare with the similar sized districts across the state. For that group, you're 3% below market for the employee pay to market pay. For the pay grade midpoint to market, you're at 1% above, and then we were able to match 9 positions. For campus administration, that just is compared to that local peer group that we looked at the beginning. And you're 4% below for employee pay. Now that could be that you might have some new principals, some new APs, that might be a factor. Because your pay grade midpoint to market, you're 3% above. So your pay ranges for that group are really good. Just the pay is a little low. And we were able to match 6 positions for that group. Next is the professionals, and this group is matched with the local market and then with the metro market of Lubbock and Midland for any jobs that compete outside. So for employee pay, you're equal to market. Your midpoints to market, you're 7% above, and we're able to match 19 positions. For your non-exempt staff, for this clerical and technical group, this is also a combination of the local peers and then the Lubbock and Midland metro areas. You're 9% below on employee pay to market. The midpoint to market is at 94%, so you're 6% below. And with these groups, this non-exempt group, we also do show you the minimum to market. And for those minimums, you are 5% below. For this group, we were able to match 12 positions. Next, you'll see your instructional support. This will just be compared to the local districts that were in that peer group. You're 11% below for employee pay. Keep in mind that this group does have your aides, your classroom aides and your special education aides. Those tend to be high turnover positions. And so sometimes that will keep employees from moving higher up in the pay range because there is a lot of turnover. So keep that in mind. Your midpoint to market, you are 4% below, but the minimum to market is 1% above, and we're able to match 5 positions. Your auxiliary group, this typically has your lowest paid employees. Again, there are a lot of high turnover positions in this group, typically being custodians, child nutrition, bus monitors, things of that nature. So that group, employee pay to market, is 8% below. Your midpoint to market is 11% below. And then the minimum to market is 91%, so 8% below, and we were able to match 13 positions. So we did look at stipends this year. This is just a quick overview of your athletics extra duty stipends. You'll see for athletics, the average, you're $630 above market, and we were able to match 23 positions. For football, you're $1,833 above market, and we matched 4. For your head coaches, you're $720 above, so that's head coaches other than football, and we were able to match 8 positions. Assistant coaches, for all sports, you're at $267 below market, so below market, but not by a lot, and that's at 6%, or at 6 benchmark positions. The middle school coaches are $242 below market, and then your athletic trainer is $3,000 above market.
Question: athletic trainer or athletic coordinator? It said coordinator.
Did it say coordinator? Whatever it said, that's what it is. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I wanted
athletic coordinator. We've talked a lot about the trainer, and I think that's where I pulled it from. Athletic coordinator, $3,000. But apologize for that. For performing arts, for your spirit, which is your cheerleading, you're $250 below. For performing arts, which will be band directors, theater, if you have that stipend, you're $1,571 above. And then your sponsors, you're $525 above. And then your job-related stipends, you're $3,050 above. So we'll get into our recommendations now. And for recommendation 1, so first of all, you're partway there because you already have your midpoint-based structure, so that's great. A lot of districts don't, so having just that midpoint-based structures for those groups that are not teachers, that's perfect. We do recommend that you continue with your 4 pay structures, the 3 midpoint, and then the teachers on their hiring schedule. For recommendation 2, we'll see as we move further along that you'll have cost models for these 3 different models. Model 1 is a 1.5% for all groups. That is an $800 continuing. Each continuing teacher will receive $800. On the 2% model, each teacher will receive $1,050, and then a midpoint for all other groups. 2.5, all continuing teachers will receive $1,300, and then the midpoint for other pay groups. This shows Model 1, and you'll notice the Model 1 is in the dotted green line, so it's not moving very high because it's just a 1.5%. Orange is showing where you currently are, and then the blue line is showing the current market median for your peers. Keep in mind that blue line is going to move because that is their current market rate. This slide shows Model 2, which is the 2%. Again, dotted green, orange, and blue. Model 3, which is the 2.5. You can see you're actually finally getting above where that current market median is. So even with Model 3, for, like Dr. Nelson said, this is a multi-year process to get your rates up to where you want them. You can't, probably don't have the money to throw at it in 1 year. So this gets you along the path. Our next recommendation, and this talks about just where your employees are going to fall after these the general pay increase. So item 1, for anyone that we always add 1% to the minimum to make sure that anyone that is in that pay range will be slightly higher than any new hires without experience that you bring in. So that's what that first bullet point is referencing. The strategic adjustments, that is placing 1% of midpoint for exempt employees who still remain 90% below the midpoint after all the adjustments are made. Okay? And the third bullet, that is the teacher pay equity adjustment, and this is to make sure that anyone in that educator career path will make at least 2% above what they would make on the teacher hiring schedule with the same degree and same number of years of experience. And then 4 are placement scales adjustments, and those are used for your non-exempt staff for those high turnover and multi-incumbent positions. Recommendation 4. So this is probably the trickier of them, I would say, because we are asking that you consider adding a $1,250 master's degree stipend, and then through attrition, offer a $2,500 stipend for your secondary math and science. So as Dr. Nelson said, you don't ever want to take money away from people. That's not a good idea. You can if you have to do that because of fiscal needs, but it will change the culture that you have. So doing it through attrition is one way to bring that back down to a reasonable rate, in line with market, still valuing those hard-to-fill positions, but just making it more reasonable. And then the next item is just to increase the extra duty stipends that we've sent to Dr. Nelson to approve those, and then hold harmless any individual stipends if we have lowered a stipend just slightly or done away with a stipend, you're holding that person harmless and then easing that out through attrition. And then any job-related stipends, we're asking that you roll those into their base salary. And then this is our first cost model. You'll see that overall, the 1.5% will cost 3.2%. And you'll see a line item for each pay group, the general pay increase, the cost for adjustments, and then the estimated total increase. Model 2, which is the 2%, is an overall cost increase of 3.6%. And Model 3 is an overall cost increase of 4%. And that is the end of the presentation, but I'm happy to go back to any slides you have questions about or answer any questions you may have.
What is the advantage of rolling a stipend into a salary? Does the stipend not count towards retirement, or it doesn't?
It does, however, the stipend is not a part of the general pay increase, right? So if you're giving that midpoint increase to their base pay, the stipend's sitting over here. So they're only getting that midpoint increase added to this amount every year. And this is typically staying stagnant. Stipends tend to stay stagnant 5 to 7 years, depending on the district. So rolling it into their salary, especially those that are job related, it's something that you are requiring them to do. It's not extra duty. It is a part of their job. They should be paid for that. And it should just be a part of their base salary and just a part of that, what they're getting that midpoint on every year so that they just move through that pay range.
So like the math and science high school that in the past was hard to recruit.
Right, and that's different. That is a stipend.
So reducing to 2,500, are schools seeing the ability to recruit the high-end educator to bring them into the school?
Flip back to that. I'm going to flip really quickly.
And she's flipping.
Follow into this, like,
so I'm going to
tenure
show
teachers
you
just go make tenure pay
the graph
with no
that
stipend.
shows you what that is. So the market median is $2,000 for math, and then science is $2,500. Are they going to have issues recruiting? Sometimes they will, but that stipend helps. I think that the $10,000 stipend is so far above market. Even if you didn't bring it down to $2,500, you should consider lowering it closer to market just for that fiscal responsibility.
But if somebody's getting it now,
they wouldn't
say
lose
they've
it.
been here 10 years and they've getting it, you just get it once
They would
attrition
continue to receive that $10,000 until they resign or retire.
Okay.
So only through attrition. So your new hires would get the $2,500. Those that have been receiving the $10,000, they would continue to receive that.
They're grandfathered in.
Right.
Yes.
So. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this
Thank you.
meeting. I appreciate it. Oh, this one. The cost model? Yes. Hey, guys. We're just going to go real quick. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beasley.
Thank you.
We good?
Yes. Should we Brandon and turn that on?
Do you guys need access to the screen?
I didn't bring a PowerPoint. I didn't want the newspaper taking pictures.
We got enough for board members and the CFO.
She's still there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. This is about school funding.
Thank you.
Turn these at long?
Oh, thank you.
Ron, you need just to jump in, or do you want to say something first, or?
Well, We visited and we met tonight for the first time, and most of our discussion, of course, was about property values and the decline in it, and also the service that we're being provided by our current appraisal district. And I'm going to cut you loose.
Okay, cut me loose. Okay. Hey, good evening. Good evening. This is Adam Walker. Adam's a partner in our Lubbock office, and I live in Austin, so he's my Uber driver this evening. And, carrying my satchel. And well, my name is Carla Pope Osborne. Like I said, I'm in the Austin office, and what I'm here to visit with y'all about is what we call the property value study. And so in your packet of information, I've got a lot of stuff in there for you all. And kind of just go over with you what's in that packet before I kind of get into the discussion with you all. I sort of wish Adam and I were here playing a band instrument right now and talking to y'all about this. On the left-hand side of that packet of information I gave you was the result of the 2021 property value study. So this was the results that were released on January 31st of 2022. So this was that 2021 PVS. That was the first year that things got pretty out of sorts with values and the results of the property value study. On the right-hand side of your packet, that's where the bulk of the information is I'm going to go over with you tonight. So the very first item that you see there on that right-hand side of your packet, that is the official form that your superintendent signed in order for us to file what is called a property value study appeal with the Comptroller of Public Accounts. So I just wanted y'all to see that's not just something I jumped out there and did. It has to be, the superintendents have to sign that official form. That second document that you see on the right-hand side of your folder, it's got a purple cover. I put that in there, and I just included, about 4 pages. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that here in a second. But it does discuss what the property value study is, why we have it, and what it means, and I'll cover that with y'all here in a second. You also have in your packet a copy of the actual property value study. It's a thick document. That's what it looks like right now after we have filed the appeal. So we started getting the preliminary results back, and I'll go over with you in more detail where we go from there. And then you'll see 2 documents. They're like Microsoft Word document, and one's labeled Category A. That's for single-family residential, and there's one labeled Category E, and that's land. Those are the 2 main categories here we're going to chat about. So now you know what you have in your packet. So what I'm going to talk to you about to begin with. You do have one other document there. And that's going to be probably one of the most important documents that I discuss with y'all at the end. So part of that document that has the purple cover does talk about the property value study, what it's for, why we have one. And so the Comptroller's Office has a division called the Property Tax Division. And they are responsible for doing a study for every school district in the state of Texas to determine a school district's taxable wealth. Okay? So about half the school districts in the state get studied one year, and then the other half the following year. So not all 1,000 school districts get studied every year. The results of this property value study are then sent to the Texas Education Agency. So I noticed earlier I was peeking through the window and Ron was showing you the school funding templates, right? The result of this property value study, we have what we call a lot of T values that you see on there. Well, the T2 value is one of the most important numbers that goes into the school funding template. I know it's got about 50 tabs on the bottom of it, and it's got thousands of cells. But ultimately, there's really only about 4 cells that really, of that whole school funding template, that really drive your school funding. Certainly, your weighted average daily attendance, this property value study, your tax collections, and your tax levy. So those are the 4 really main drivers of the whole thing. So this property value study is a big driver of your school funding. So starting in 2021, when the results of the study came out, the Comptroller's Office, the results showed that the level of appraisal of properties in Lamesa ISD were significantly underappraised for single-family residential and land, which is 2 of your bigger categories. Now, y'all been a school district that is considered a formula transition grant district. And so what that means, when we had House Bill 3 pass, y'all were held harmless. So in 2021, there was not an appeal filed because you were going to get the same amount of money from the state no matter what. Y'all still are getting some formula transition grant money for this result of the 2022 study. But what y'all need to be concerned about is what is happening in the city that I live in right now. You need to be concerned with what's happening at the legislature. And while Adam and I have been sitting in the audience looking, House Bill 100, which was going to be giving y'all all districts, that's now done. We just got an email saying that the House cannot confer with the Senate. Well, you know the reason why is because of vouchers. They're like, no. Well, the Senate doesn't want to give. Well, the House is certainly not going to give. So right now, y'all are not. All these schools in the state of Texas, you're not going to be seeing a lot of additional funding come into your school district. So this property value study then gets real concerning for you all. So in order to pass, okay, I want y'all to really listen to me on this part right here. In order to pass, for the Comptroller's Office to say, we think that the school district is in basically compliance, properties need to be assessed between 95% and 105% overall. But just for the categories that the state actually tests. So in your case, they test single-family residential, okay? You have a total taxable wealth. This is your local number. This is not what the state says. But your local number net, after all the deductions, after we take out homestead exemptions and everything else, your total net is $486 million. Well, y'all have $200+ million in single-family residential. So the state tests that. So when we're looking at this kind of thick document, so remember what I'm saying. You have to be at 95% to 105% in order to pass, to be within the confidence interval. So you can see, this is after we have filed the appeal. Single-family residential is at 65%. So you don't have to be a math person, and you're like, well, that's a long ways away from 95%, right? So you already know that we're way behind the 8 ball. You know immediately we're probably not going to pass. Now, we go down and you'll see you have multifamily. What that means is you obviously have some duplexes or something in town. You have so little value in multifamily, the state doesn't even test it. They're like, we don't care what the value is. We're going to agree with it. So then you get to vacant lots. You have $2.4 million of this is for 2022. You have $2.4 million of vacant lots. State's like, we don't care. Not enough for us to worry about. You've got $20.5 million of land qualified for agricultural use. So this is like farmland. And you're at 102%, which that's good, but you only have $20 million in it. Well, we have 200 million in single-family residential, and we're at 65%. So we're not making up any ground here. Well, then we get to, you can see it says category E. This is land that is not qualified for agricultural use and the improvement that sits on that land. So let's say somebody's got a 100-acre tract, and 98 acres is qualified for ag use. They're running cattle on it. 2 acres is homesteaded with a house on it. This reflects what that 2 acres and that house would be. Well, you can see here we're at 71%. Long ways away from 95%, aren't we? Okay, then we go into commercial property. Controller's office thinks that the appraisal district is doing a good job on commercial property. We're right at 100%. We're at 101% on minerals. On utilities, that is like pipelines and railroads. We did file a utilities appeal. I did not include it in this information. So we're working closely with the appraisal firm, Pritchard and Abbott, that does the work here on utilities. Commercial personal, that's the furniture, fixtures, and equipment inside businesses. And we're at 96%. But you can see a lot of these other categories that the state tested, there's not a lot of value there. So what's really driving the train on the results of this property value study is single-family residential and land. So we're a long ways away. Now, I will say the way it works, let me give you kind of a timeline of how this works. So on January 31st of this year, so January 31st of 2023, the results of this 2022 study came out. So, David, you might have been at Midwinter. I don't know.
I wasn't.
You were.
I wasn't a superintendent yet.
You were, okay. Next year, you'll be there next year,
ma'am.
and on January 31st of 2024, this study will come out. The study always comes out on January 31st of every year for the prior year, okay? So when the study came out, Lamesa ISD, once again, did not pass. You were real far outside of the confidence interval. So at some point, I don't know if it was Ron or anyway, somebody called us and said, it's like, Houston, we have a problem.
It was me.
It was you. Okay. We filed appeals for about 68 schools this year, so I get confused who called me sometimes. So the rules that govern this study, they give you 40 days to gather data and file an appeal with the comptroller to try to show the controller's office that, yes, things may be bad, but maybe they're not as bad. Okay? So we filed a property value study appeal, and they were due on March the 13th. And so we got that submitted. We provided a copy of that appeal to the school. And then just about 2 weeks ago, we got the initial results back. There wasn't a whole lot to appeal, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But we have told the state that we still want to come in and visit with them informally, and that will take place in June. Now, I am positive on single-family residential, it's going to go from 65% to right at 70%, but that's going to be the best we can do, okay? It's just not going to, there's just no way. And we might get a little bit more movement on land. I do expect to get some additional movement on utilities. So the one thing that I wanted to visit with y'all about, and which, like I said, I think it's one of the most important documents, is this one. So what I did, so on the left-hand side of this page, you'll see it says account number. These are all single-family residential properties that the state tested in this school district. Okay? Every single property on this list that you have here is a property that actually sold. So these are sale prices against the 2022 appraisal values. Okay? The state did not come in and do appraisals of houses. These are all houses that sold. The time frame for the sales that the state looked at were July 1st of 2021 through June 30th of 2022. So 6 months either side of the assessment date of January 1st of 2022. Okay? July 1 to June 30th. Okay? So what I started doing when I knew when Ron had asked me to come to this board meeting, I said, well, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at prior year values of every one of these accounts that the state has in their study. So I just started off looking at values in 2020. I could have gone back to all the way to 2017. And what I found very disturbing is for almost every single account that the state tested, the 2020 values and the 2021 values were almost identical. They didn't change. Okay? You can see in 2022, some values almost stayed the same. Some went up a little bit, not a whole lot. Then you see that column that says sales price. So every one of y'all can go home tonight and you can call up the Dawson CAD website and you can type in one of these account numbers and you can see exactly who bought the property. And I'm showing you right here what the sales price is. Okay? So, we can look at the very first one, account number 2136. It's sold for $35,000. It would have sold within one of those months I told you, within that bracket. The 2022 value is $22,140. The 23 value is $29,760. So one thing that we did at my office, we just said, let's pretend that the state picked the same sales for the 2023 PVS. Now they won't because they'll fall out. But some of these sales will show up again. But most of these would not be in the time frame that the state would test. But let's just say they did. This school district's going to fail the 2023 property value study again. Okay? You're not going to pass. If we did that scenario. I know it's hard, and trust me, I have gone to a lot of school board meetings since February 1st. And I know it's hard sometimes in small communities where you're like, I just can't believe properties are selling for that much. I'm telling you, people, they are. People are buying property in your community. And there's a significant difference. I just can't stress that enough. Y'all can take this home and look at it. There is a significant, and these are all, every one of these sales on here, they are arm's length transactions. There is nothing wrong with the sale. There was a willing buyer and a willing seller, and there was nothing odd about the sale. Well, there's nothing that we can really argue with. We can't go in and tell the comptroller's office, well, you shouldn't be using these sales. Oh, and they're going to, so, when you file an appeal, you have to tell the state why that you don't think they should use something. Well, there wasn't a whole lot we could tell them because these are all arm's length transactions. So the state is just saying, we're here to determine the school district's taxable wealth. And according, in the eyes of the state of Texas, you have a whole lot more value in this school district than what was on the 2022 appraisal roll. A significant more value. So in the eyes of the state of Texas, you have a lot more wealth here. Well, the more wealthy you are, the less school funding they're going to give you. And then it trickles down and they're like, oh, well, you should be collecting taxes off this higher number, not the lower number. So you can see you get a double whammy. Okay? I personally think one of the things that has happened here, I think that the appraisal firm that the appraisal district contracts out with, and they had been here for quite a while, and that's why I went back and looked at prior years. There has been failure to communicate. If you've got a contract with somebody and you don't see the values changing, and their job is to come in and determine market value of property. That has not happened. The Appraisal District Board of Directors is who approves the contracts with the appraisal firms to do the work. This should be very concerning to you all. And I know, and I have sometimes school board members, and I know some of y'all are probably wanting to say it, and you're like, well, I don't know if people can pay more taxes. This isn't about the taxes. This is about school funding for your school district. And y'all are in trouble. And we just had this presentation from TASB, and you want to give people raises, and you've got this going on here, and you've got the legislature in Austin that's almost going to hold school districts hostage right now, aren't they? Because you've got one side that wants vouchers and one side that doesn't. So, I would suggest y'all look over this. My business card is in those folders. You can email me, call me. Ron knows how to reach me. I'm just here to try to provide information to you all about what I see as happening. But the controller's office, I'm going to tell y'all, they're very aware of this.
That's what I was about to ask.
That they are.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We pretty much know the answer now then.
But that's what I was going to ask. Are they aware?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, they know which outside contractors do work for appraisal districts. They're very aware. They're smart. Trust me, they've already done the same exact analysis I've done, and they've gone back even further than I've gone. And if you see a property whose value doesn't change for 4 or 5 years, that just can't be. That's not how it works. So that just means somebody's taking the values and rolling them forward year to year without actually doing any appraisal work. Okay?
So their board of directors will know.
So can we see that?
We don't contact the board of directors.
I think we have, but we will again.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, Dr. Nelson.
So I was in shock and awe when I heard this. I think Mr. Telchek unfortunately had to sit in the meeting with me when I first learned this. And this is not my area, so just the crux of what she explained, the bit I understood, it scared me. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't be scared. I couldn't speak it out because they had to prove it. But I guess the reason I raised my hand is you guys have a representative on that board. And typically, in districts I've been in, that representative sits on this board. It's not somebody you pick from the outside to sit on there. A board member sits on there so they can assert their will to make sure that this kind of stuff gets corrected. And so I know the person we appointed still has 2 or 3 years. I don't know if you can unseat them and seat one of yourselves. But my question would be, does the chief appraiser understand what serious trouble we're in, and do they show any signs of wanting to help us, or are they committed to continue the path they're on?
That's what I was asked.
Who is
I will say yes. The chief appraiser is aware that
John Ferris
is aware that the school district has not passed the study again.
Right, I know she's aware of that,
She's
but
aware.
Does she have a sense of urgency like we should?
I don't know the answer.
Thank you.
I don't know. My responsibility has been to, for us to gather the data, try to convince the state things are not quite as bad as but they are bad.
They are.
Maybe, I'm like, oh my gosh, if we can get the single family residential ratio to 70%, and we started out actually at 64, I'm like, I need to throw a party. And normally I would be like, oh my God, we have not done a good job. But things were just, the local values of properties. And I will say this: if the state had come in here and done 100 appraisals, well, I would be like, well, we can attack the state. We can get in there and show the state that they don't know what they're doing. But when you have this overwhelming amount of sales information, and once again, they are arm's length transactions, nothing's odd about the sale. I mean, there's nothing to tell the state. I mean, you know, like I said, there's a few properties and that, yes, they agreed, we'll delete them, or they're going to look at them again for us. They've already told us they will. So I think we're going to end up at about 70% on single-family residential. But that's a long ways from 95%.
Yes, ma'am.
You know? And so, like I said, only thing I could do, looking at 2023 was to put that one document together and go and look at what the 2020 value was, and 21 and 22 and now 23. And just run the scenario. If the state picked those same sales and the results came out tomorrow, you're failing again. And, like I said, all this stuff going on with the legislature, formula transition grant money is going away unless they do something, which it doesn't appear right now they're going to.
Can I ask you something on that? Because I was kind of talking to them earlier, and y'all said you got an email while y'all were here.
Mm-hmm.
Do we still think that there's a chance they'll at least go to special session and continue to fight over it at least?
I will tell you what we've heard. They will end up in a special session, but probably not until after summer. September.
Wow.
You know why? Who do you not think they want at the Capitol every day in the summer?
Yeah.
School board members, teachers, superintendents, and CFOs. When school starts back, you need to be in your district.
Am I being naive when I say that with the surplus that they have, am I naive to think that they can walk out of there this year and not help public schools at all?
Well, I don't know you very well, so I don't want to imply you're naive. So I think they may be walking away with no help right now. But I think a lot of y'all knew that Polly may be going into it because we had vouchers versus non-vouchers. That's a major deal. And
out of touch with public schools.
Excuse me?
They're so out of touch with public schools. It's ridiculous. I mean, they want their little private.
I know. I've thought
schools,
many a
and they're not
times.
gonna-
I wish I
they're
could
not gonna
haul some
accept.
of those people with me to school board meetings. But
We
anyway.
talked about it. They're not going to
And
accept.
I've kind of tried to keep them kind of updated. I just always have this hope that with the surplus of money, somebody's going to talk sense into them to at least provide something. Like even when the Senate took House Bill 100, they still stripped so much out of it before they even put it back over to the House that there was no way the House. Why would they approve it?
Well, we just got a thing that said Representative King said that the House was not going to confer with the Senate.
I didn't figure they would.
So I guess they can chit chat tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday and anyway. That's a whole other talk show.
It's
The
disappointing.
legislatures.
It's disappointing.
It is disappointing. It is. Do y'all have any questions for me as to how this works, what it means? Like I said, I wish Adam and I were here playing music instead of talking to you about this. It's not a pleasant subject. It's not. And once again, I'm not here. This isn't about. And I will tell you this: if the comptroller's office was here with me right now, they would say, we don't care, because a lot of times it's implied, and often by newspaper people, so that the comptroller's office said that the appraisal district needs to raise values. And that's not accurate. The comptroller's office doesn't care. They don't care if if the appraisal district raises values or not. That's irrelevant to them. And in that document with the purple front page on it will show that you can read about it. They're just like the property tax code and the Texas Education Code said that we need to do a study that determines the taxable wealth of every school district in the state of Texas. If you have an appraisal district that's under assessing property and you don't pass and you have school funding at stake, I mean, frankly, that's the controller's office. They don't care. That's a local
They're not
deal.
worried about it.
Well, they're not. I mean, they're like, we're just here to do a study, and we're here to publish the results, and we give those results to the Texas Education Agency, and they can plug those into the summary of finance in 5 seconds and determine what you have as far as funding issues. I just know that you cannot continue to go in this direction.
So what is it that we need to do moving forward that we should be doing differently to make sure?
I do think y'all need to chat with your person that's on the Appraisal District Board of Directors.
And that would be Mr. Richard.
You know, I
You
don't.
what?
No, but I think who would have to talk to you?
I will absolutely talk to him, but I think this is more, I think it's bigger than just me. I think it's influence over what's happening in the town of Lamesa.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when I looked at it, I immediately went to that 15 and 16 and saw 125,000 for something that appraised for 59,000. And that's not
No.
right.
You go.
Page
I've just been
three.
playing at the Academy.
I looked to them
You go in
all.
here and look at
Yeah.
some of these businesses in downtown off Main and Austin, and they're valued at $2,200, and then you look at one across the street and it's at $180.
There has to be somebody on that board that
But the biggest,
they might not understand the effect this has on public schools.
Yeah.
I don't see how everybody on the board, I don't see how they do understand it, and they've allowed this to continue.
Well, let me say this though, as far as an Appraisal District Board of Directors, part of their job responsibilities, they cannot tell the chief appraiser to raise values or not to raise values. That is not one of their responsibilities. You know, the property tax code, like I was telling Adam, I wish I would have made a copy of it. It's like on page 3 or 4 of the tax code. I mean, it says property in the state of Texas needs to be appraised at market value, okay, which is 100%. But in order to pass the study, you need to be between the 95 and 105. Now, I will tell y'all, just in closing, that for the 2022 study, there was a record number of school districts that failed. Okay, more than ever has failed. Well, think about it. You know, 2021 was a hot real estate market, and 2022 was too, really hot, all over the state of Texas. You know, my gosh, we did appeals this year as far north of the Panhandle as you can get, all the way down to Kingsville, out west and Alpine and Fort Davis, and all the way out to East Texas. And it didn't matter where you were at. Properties were selling for a lot. And a lot of out-of-state investors were buying stuff in Texas. I mean, I called somebody. I'm not going to tell you what town the property was in, but I did call somebody, and I'm like, do you know where that town is? And it was a person in Connecticut. And we tracked the number down, and I'm like, have you ever actually been to this? And it wasn't y'all, but have you ever been to this particular town? And then the lady said no. She's like, I didn't need to be. I mean, we're investors. And we were buying this property for an investment. I'm like, so you actually didn't come to this particular town we were doing an appeal in. And she's like, no. She goes, did I do something wrong? And I'm like, no, but I needed you to tell me something different. But it was an arm's length transaction. I mean, it was listed by a realtor in the town, and I don't know how somebody in Connecticut finds property in the Panhandle to buy, but they did. And there was nothing wrong with the sale, and paid significantly more for it than it was on the roll for. You know? So a lot of that's what's happening. I don't know if that's what happened here, but you can certainly go on the CAD website and you can see the deed transfer. So you can see who sold it and who bought it, and you can certainly see what they paid for it. I'm just trying to get y'all prepared for 2023 because those values have already been sent out. The values have already been determined. So I may be here this time next year saying, hey, Rebecca, remember when I was here a year ago? Let's chat about this again, right? So, Ron, do you have any questions for me? You know where to find me? I will say this, y'all contracted out with a kind of a consultant. Her name is Henry Gehring. I know her well. She's really good. I've talked to her twice today about y'all's situation. There was some information provided to the appraisal district, to the school by the appraisal district, and Ron had emailed me. It's about your preliminary values for 2023, and he was like, Henry. I mean, anyway, what was provided is in error. It's not correct, and the values are flipped on what the value should be for your M&O versus your INS. So I know Ms. Gehring has tried to reach the appraisal district to talk to them about that. I'm assuming she will try to do that again tomorrow or next week.
So is the biggest part of the problem with the appraisal district is in the residential part, right? I mean,
yeah, according to the state study, single-family residential and land not qualified for agricultural use.
That's what's causing the problem.
Those are the two problems. Yeah.
And how much of that falls on, I mean, as far as the valuation, how much of that responsibility falls upon Norma?
Well, the appraisal district contracts out with an outside vendor to do the work. So it's the outside
We need to
vendor
figure out if we've been using the same outside vendor
for a long time.
and get a new outside vendor is what we need to convince them
You
of.
said that we were, right?
That's your answer.
And they just
Well,
play
then,
it
did you
like-
say we
No,
were?
they
don't know for sure if this has been doing it for the past 4
They
years.
did it again this year. What now?
I'm sorry, I believe that's the answer to the problem. It's part of the answer to the problem, not all of it. That's a big part of it.
I mean, yeah, so, and it's not uncommon for a lot of appraisal districts kind of in this area to hire outside vendors to come in and help do appraisal work. But certainly that's been, in my opinion, that's the biggest issue.
You just haven't been aggressive enough.
They have it say on top of the market.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the sales are there. I know the appraisal district had the sales data. I'm sure the outside vendor that did the work had data.
Well, I got my appraisal notice the other day, and my valuation went up 15%, 16%.
Yeah, but you were probably 30% below market to begin with. So even though it went up 15%, you might still be below 15. I mean, according to the data that I have right there. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if you needed to raise values 40% and you only raise them 20 in 2022, and then you don't raise them but 5 or 10% in 2023, you just keep getting further and further behind. Now, you obviously own your home, it's homesteaded, you have the 10% cap, so the value could have gone up 1,000%, but what you're going to pay taxes on, the assessed value, is only going to go up 10% on homesteaded property. Trust me, you're looking at me like you're not sure what I said there. Anyway, like
Well,
I
I
said,
just got, I understand that they contracted out, but I also understand the chief appraiser, in my mind, should have caught this. To me, she should have.
well,
She should know that what everything's selling for and has been selling for. Because in my line of work, I see it. I see what properties are going for.
yeah.
And that's a big. We're out of whack by a lot.
You are. So it takes a big correction, and it's too late for 2023. I mean, you can see on that list I provided you, there's almost every single property, the 2023 value is still a lot less than what the property sold for. Anyway, I'm concluding my presentation.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all can, like I said, email me, call me. If you have any questions, I'll certainly try to answer them for you. I'll certainly keep in touch with Ron. Like I said, we'll be having an informal meeting with the controller's office in June. We're going to make some more headway, but you're not going to get local value. You're not, so thank goodness there's still some formula transition grant money available for y'all. But y'all certainly need to be concerned, I think, for 2023 when it comes out in January.
Thank you so much, Ms.
All right.
Thank you.
Adam, we have to go before the newspaper lady asks.
She has.
You can. Let me make sure I don't have any secret notes on her. No, I think I have a lot of duplicates of stuff in here, but you can certainly have it. I don't have my business card.
I guess we'll do administrative reports, but we don't have any.
We kind of already did.
I don't have
This one.
one.
I would say an administrative report.
Let me get it.
If you know any of the softball coaches, softball kids, tell them good luck. That's a gigantic thing happening tomorrow and on Saturday. We have added close to 200 seats today, me and Ray out there, and I think it's going to be fun. So come out and support them.
Dr. Brendan?
You will.
Again, Madam President,
You don't mess with somebody you're not for. They're used to team
Thank
moves. You
y'all.
don't
Y'all
throw them
have a
off and
safe
not
trip.
the play.
at our last meeting, we talked about you guys getting more information about who we employ, who we hire, who we bring on, who leaves, and I wanted to provide this information for you on a regular basis. You should have several documents on board book. The first one is a list of all new hires, and what I did, because I've never presented this data to you, I went back to when Mr. Ritchie first took the job, and so I went back to March, and now month after month I'll give you the last fiscal month, and so you can see who was hired all the way back to Mr. Birdsong in March, going up through May 15th was our last hire. I actually covered May now, so I'll just cover everything going forward from May. Did you have any questions about any of these individuals or about the report itself? You think it might help you just to kind of see who's coming on to work in Lamesa? Okay.
Yes.
The second report I gave you is separations. The one thing I want to say about separations will include all voluntary and involuntary. I don't like to report involuntary because it looks negative. I just report who separated from the district. If you ever want to know specifically were they a voluntary separation or a involuntary separation, which would be a termination, you could ask and we can give you that information. But you can see all of the regular terminations. That doesn't mean they were terminated. That means either they left on their own or we asked them to leave. That's termination in general under reason. When you look under summer, those are natural transitions that typically happen when people are going to go on to another job. They just don't want to do the job they're doing anymore. They voluntarily leave when it says summer. And then the third report in that packet are retirements. We like to kind of keep retirements separate. Those are celebrations. They've ended their time in education and they're going to do something else. So I don't like those to be negative at all. Those are positive separations because they retired. So any questions about any of those?
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information. I know you didn't talk about safety audit.
Is that next? I apologize. I should have taken my agenda. Very excited about where Lamesa already was as it regards safety. I mean, one of the few districts I've ever visited even or been a part of where 90% of the doors you go to that are foot traffic have the scan badge IDs to get in, so that's a highly protected mechanism that's in place. Very excited about some of the fencing we have. We do have some work to do in all those areas. The safety committee met last week. I'm so tired. I don't even know what it was.
This week.
On Monday or
It's been a long
Tuesday?
week.
This week?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm tired. The safety committee met this week, and we have about 18 people on that committee, and we'll grow it as much as we need to. We have the chief of police, we have the sheriff, the chief deputy, we have the fire chief, and then we have a parent. We have a lot of school district people, and including maintenance and administrators, etc. And what our goal is to one thing is to be the committee that always has our eye on, are we doing things right to protect our kids, our teachers, our staff? One immediate thing we're doing is managing a $200,000 bond. That application got submitted last week, I'm sure about that. And soon we'll get a notice of grant award where we've been allowed to take part in that $200,000. We have set a priority as a committee that we want to address first, doors and windows, and we can use grant monies to take care of doors and windows to make sure if a bad guy wanted to get through a door onto one of our campuses, they would be delayed by several techniques. And I'm not going to share techniques out in public because the more you share, the more vulnerable you are. But the state has recommended techniques. We have had a 3-year audit that has validated some of the things we're doing very well, has given us some suggestions on things we can do better. We're not going to share that either because if you share that audit too widely, then the bad guy gets a hold to it and then they can try to circumvent your systems. But what we're putting in place is taking care of doors and windows. Second, we want to take care of fencing, egress. So like right now we have some pretty good fencing, but what we don't have is emergency egress, meaning if I'm inside the building and I need to go to this area that's fenced in, I can get out by pushing the button. Right now, we don't have that everywhere we need it, and we're going to get that. So that's the second on the priority list. And the third priority, communications. Making sure that our police, fire can communicate anywhere within our buildings. And they've already assured me that we're good there. The second part of communications that we want to take care of is us having better communication on our campuses so that when there's a problem, the administrators, the teachers can communicate more effectively. That's going to be an area. There are 7 key areas. I'm not going to try to cite them right now because I'll waste your time. But once we meet the minimum standards in those 7 areas, whatever money's left over, then we can address some other things. And so we will be looking at that. Hopefully we can wrap those things up September, October, at least for the bids, and then to get the work done, and then we can identify how much money we have remaining. It's probably not going to be very much.
It's going to eat it up. I mean, the stuff we're going to try to do is going to eat that money up, so we got to be real strategic about what we're doing with it. And to tag along with what Dr. Nelson said, I felt great about it because the people doing the audit went out of their way to find me, to tell us that we are way further along than most school districts. So that made me feel good, but we still got to get better. So today we spent most of the day walking around with people.
Yeah, we walked around with some people today looking at our systems. You know, the way I watch crime shows, that's what I watch most of the time when I watch television, and they say something similar to this. We have to get it right 1,000 times. Bad guy only has to get it right once out of those 1,000 times, and then we have a tragedy. So we're trying to be right 1,000 times. And I cannot stand here and tell you we need local money to do the other things because we have some financial issues, but I'm confident that we're not going to have these financial issues for long. We're going to overcome them. And when we can, we need to contribute to the safety areas that we need to address ourselves, not just with grant funding, but with local funding. So that's it. I'm a little pessimistic right now just because of everything going on down in Austin, but I'm still hopeful that we can take the $200,000 we have and we can do some great things with it. Next committee meeting is on the 12th. We follow up the following week on the 19th. And next, at the 12th meeting, the committee will break down into 4 groups, go to campuses, and start eyeballing so they can see what we've been talking about and seeing in the grant and in the requirements. They can see, oh, this is why we need to do this, like something me and Mr. Ritchie learned today. It's a box called a Knox box. It's an emergency box that every fireman, every police officer will have a key to open it, and they can reach in to get a key that gives them access to the building so that they're not locked out.
Or is it for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar only?
Are so high up on the wall, the fireman would have to bring his ladder to get it.
It's crazy.
And if you've been to a mall, you've seen those little boxes on the side of the wall in different places, big buildings. They're right here. I've never seen one higher than this ceiling. Well, about the top of the ceiling is how high the Knox boxes are. We have to replace them all anyway because those are single Knox boxes, single key. We have to have one that has a key for fire and a key for police. It has to be separate. So we need 6 Knox boxes. That's my best estimate. DAEP. We might need 7. We probably need 7 Knox boxes. The 4 campuses, DAEP, the new gym and the field house. But they're not terribly expensive. We have some money in this year's budget that we might be able to tap into to accomplish some of that. That is grant money. Am I correct? It's not grant money. We may be able to tap into to get some of those things sooner rather than later. But we're going to keep working. We're going to do everything we can to be safe. Last thing I want to say is this. Our goal is not to create a waterproof system. It's to create a system that you might get through, but it's going to take you long enough, hopefully, outside of the time it takes our police officers to get here to take care of you. And so that's what we're doing. We're delaying a problem. We're not completely eliminating it. We could spend
There's no way to eliminate
$1 billion.
If somebody wants to find a way into something, they're going to find a way into something.
But we want to delay them long enough because the response times seem to be fairly quick here. And I think if we can slow them down for 2 or even 3 minutes, we can avoid a tragedy. Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ron, are you on that committee? Okay, that's what I figured.
Yes, now we'll go to the superintendent report.
Starting on the construction and building, and it's in your board book. We're getting to those times where there's not going to be near as much to talk about with construction. That's a good thing. That inspection, I didn't know if y'all needed to see it or wanted to see it, but I just thought it won't hurt to let you see it. But I also included that last email where Richard tells us. They have got almost everything that didn't pass repaired. Montoya and I we set up a time to visit tomorrow about anything that is left to finish. But like those drawings on here, and I'm scrolling through it. If you were to go through our parking lot right now, that is exactly what they look like. Those handicap. It is identical to that. So I think we're close to finally being done with all of it. But we're not going to cut them loose until we get everything the right way.
That's any of the escrow money? Have they mentioned anything like that?
Not yet. They have not mentioned that. Yeah, and we still need to visit, I guess, again with Chris Norris and kind of see where we're at on the storm and everything too.
I know in the construction at one time there was some escrow, or an escrow fund for things.
I think that got spent.
$250.
There was a lot. Guys, you got to. Originally, I think the gym was supposed to be like $12 million. Ended up being 14. And I do know that there were a whole lot of change orders. And again, a lot of that was done before I got over here. But I remember hearing from Richard and Montoya that we had maybe a few more change orders than what they're used to. And I think most of that's been eaten up. And then legislature, guys, I feel like everything she said is what I've been saying for a long time. I'm a person of faith. I refuse to believe they're going to go to May 29th with $33 billion and not help public schools out. I just refuse to believe it. So I'm going to hold out hope. She said she got an email. I immediately pulled up on my websites, and it's not on there, which means maybe there's still some fight left in all of that.
I was really hoping and praying that we got a better report than what we got tonight.
It was discouraging.
That hurts. That hurts.
And Ms. Gonzalez, you said it right. I want to visit with her, but I don't think it needs to be a single-headed attack. I think they need to understand from anyone who has influence in this town, if your kid goes here, this is hurting them. So I plan to visit with them, but if y'all know Norma well, I would tell you visit with her. We got to, and I'm going to show her this, and I'm going to show her how much we're losing, because that's discouraging.
I guess it's frustrating. I didn't know we had a representative on there. I think that's frustrating.
Who did y'all say the representative currently
I don't
is?
remember.
John Ferris.
I thought it was Don Bethel, but I
It
guess he
was, but I think he resigned.
Yeah, he
Because
was.
he
John
left
was-
and moved to
Well,
Austin.
yeah,
Johnson.
yeah.
Johnson.
I think we need to get you on there if you'd like to. We could. I know you got all the fires on your.
I don't know that I can because I do the audit.
Oh,
Oh.
But see, I don't have anything to do with the appraisal side of the district.
It's different.
Is completely, totally separate. I do the audit on the operational side. Okay, so I don't know if there might be a
Conflict of interest.
I'd be glad to do it, but we have to see if there's a conflict of interest.
I guess you can maybe when you do talk to her to see if that.
If we can make a change, I will. I'll check on that. And again, I feel like everybody's a little discouraged right now, but I do want to reiterate how big of a deal this softball thing is for our kids. And I thought about, Melissa asked why didn't I bring them, and I thought about it, but you don't mess with the team the night before they play because they got a routine they've been doing all year long, and I thought about it, but they have team dinners, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be the one to blame for that. So we'll have them all here because it's just awesome. Vanessa texted me on Saturday because when you make the semifinals, Austin starts communicating with you, and they start sending you the blocks of hotel rooms you have, and they start asking for your rosters. And she texted me Saturday and said it just hit me what we've pulled off, and I'm just so proud of them. So.
Okay, I guess now we'll go to other board action items. We have the first one, deliberation and possible action to approve allotment and seek certification forms.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is deliberation and possible action to engage audit firm for the 2022-23 school year and authorize the chief financial officer to accept the engagement letter.
Make a
What kind of figure are they proposing?
What'd they say?
It went up $5,000. I think it's now 35.
Went up from 30 to 35.
So $500.
500 or 5,000?
5,000.
Oh, 5,000.
What'd you say? I couldn't hear.
30,000 to
Oh, I thought you said okay. I couldn't hear you for a minute.
35,000.
Really?
But they haven't had a change in several years, but it went up 5.
Is it worth exploring?
That's a good price. University.
Still, even with the 5?
It really is. I didn't explore it, but I know what I've paid in the past. I've done audits for 20, 30 years, and that's 10 or 15 years ago, it was 25, and a lot of them are 40, 45, $50,000 right now. So, but you would know better.
For school districts this size?
Well, the last one was University of Southwest, and it was $50,000. So yeah, it's not the same size.
Yeah, because what I'm seeing for a 3A, 4A school district, mid to upper 20s.
I say we explore it.
Okay.
So this will table it?
I say table it, if y'all are cool with that.
Make a motion to table it.
So we do more research.
Second.
I mean, I'm not knocking their...
No, I'm all for
It's a
it.
good... BSGM's a good firm, and I know a lot of those guys, and they do good work.
We may end up using them. We just need to just double check and make sure it's our best
Do we
bang
need
for
to
our
make a
buck.
motion to table it, or do we just?
I think we
Just
yes.
do it.
Okay.
It's getting to where these regional firms, and I consider them a regional firm just based on the size of their firm. It's getting where these regional firms are... Have you ever been to their offices up there?
One time, yeah.
I go in there and I'm afraid to touch anything.
Okay, we had a motion and a second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next is deliberation and possible action to approve additional 2023 employment contract renewals for administrators, teachers, and other professional support employees.
At our last meeting, when you approved 90+% of the contract renewals, I told you there would probably be some that would slip through the cracks. They always seem to. And the names on the list that I provided you recommended that you approve them for renewals for 23-24.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go into executive session as allowed by Texas Open Meetings Act. Consider and discuss personal Texas Government Code Section 551.74. Time now is